So, Mr. Bwenji, what is EACOP?
Thank you for the question. EACOP is an acronym for East African Crude Oil Pipeline. This is a 1,443 30 diameter buried crude oil pipeline running all the way from Hoima and Chikube districts to Tanga, Tanzania, with carrying heated crude oil from the Albertine Reef to the Indian Ocean, of course, where it will be treated for export abroad.
So, in your view, what do you consider to be the short-term and the long-term effects of EACOP on the host countries and the environment at large?
When you are talking about the challenges, social, economic, environmental challenges of the EACOP to the host countries, you need to be aware that in the era of worsening climate change, then the formula that has that energy fossils will only accelerate problems. Now, this is a pipeline that will be having around 27 heating stations carrying hot crude oil along its way, passing through key ecosystem resources in 10 districts in the country, 5 regions in Tanzania, and all this will bring a series of challenges, displacing thousands of communities, bringing land grabbing issues, human rights abuses, degradation of key Lake Victoria catchment wetlands. And when you want to unpack this for a resource that is going to be mined for only 25 years and get exhausted, we shall be just in a total disaster, given the fact that at the moment, even the environmental social impact assessments that have been done, both for these oil and gas fields and the EACOP, the pipeline itself, have no mitigation plans in case such a environmental, socio-economic challenges occur. So if that one is not handled well, then you cannot escape. And when they are talking about an oil gas, that's what it means. Oil to come in the first place as if it is going to bring development and ends up just causing total disaster like it has done in Nigeria and other African countries.
So Alan, what do you think is the best compensation option for the EACOP affected community?
Thank you, Maggie. Compensation is a contentious issue, not only for the East African crude oil pipeline affected communities, but also for other large land-based investments. For the case of the EACOP, the implementing governments seem to be pursuing the takers gain compensation theory, where property of the project affected persons or parts is valued according to the prevailing market price, and little or no consideration is made for the other losses that the PAPs may face whenever they lose their land, whenever they lose their property, such large investments. And with this kind of theory, the host communities have to suffer and suffer losses because there seems to be no attempt to consider, for example, the inconveniences they suffer when such huge projects come into their areas. There seems to be no consideration for the time it takes for them to actually get compensated, because this is a very bureaucratic process. Start with the identifying the land, then the surveys, then telling these people not to use their land because such and such a project like the EACOP is supposed to take place there, and then the actual valuation of their land. And by the time they get paid, sometimes years have passed, sometimes more than 5 years. But when the compensation is to be done, the government and its partners just consider the market value at the time when they first had contact with these project affected people and when they did the evaluation. And they don't consider the fact that as time goes on, land keeps appreciating. And if they get now this same money and they have to buy land elsewhere, it is expensive. And they might not use the compensation money even to buy equivalent land. But also, this theory or this practice of having people's land compensated using the prevailing market value is problematic because there are other losses that people incur. For example, if I'm living in a particular community and you are to displace me because of a certain project, I have lost the colleagueship, the friendship, the relations that I have with certain people that I've grown up with. Then there are also the cultural attachments that we have in our communities. So if you are shifting me and you are only compensating me for the market value of my property, what about all the other inconveniences that I'm getting? When I'm going to a new place, for example, I have to take time to adjust. So all those things need to be looked at when compensation is being done. And that is where now I would advocate for the indemnity compensation theory, which looks at all those other challenges that I talked about, which looks at the property value, but also looks at the other attachments I have to my property. And this indemnity compensation theory also considers me, the person who has lost property first, before it considers the person, the investor, who has come to take my property. And to me, I think that one is a very good theory which ought to be explored than looking at the other capitalistic takers gain, which only emphasizes the gain of the investor and not that one, the person who has lost property. Because I'm not the one who has brought this development, brought the development and informed me on my land. So if you come, I should take first priority. You should ensure that I am compensated fully. I'm compensated adequately. I'm compensated in time. But this is hardly the practice. The practice is that the person who wants the land, the investor, and his interest are taken care of first before the interest of the person using the property. And that should change. So I think this calls for more debate. We need to have debates on this, on the prevailing or the current compensation practices. We need to look at progressive ways of compensating people who are affected by large land-based investments, not only for the EACOP, but even for other projects, especially in the global south. We need to carry out studies. Studies have to be carried out by the government and its partners, by research institutions, academic institutions, on the best compensation practices. And these studies should involve the project affected persons, should involve those who have already suffered injustices as a result of losing property, to these huge investments that are coming up every day. And after those studies, solid recommendations should be made, and our governments should have the desire and will to implement these recommendations. Thank you.